Hello, welcome to episode 376 of the video show, the first episode of 2023. Although I did record this in December, I could record it today, the 13th of December 2023. 2022. That's how ahead of the curve I am with recording these videos. So probably like 2 or 3 weeks in advance. But today's guest is Nell Op De Beek. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, now come to my office here, punch me in the face and tell me how to say it properly. So Nell has been watching the clips that I post on LinkedIn, and she comments on those regularly. And she actually reached out to me to become a guest on an episode of the video show. We had a chat about what she could talk about on the show, and it turns out a lot. She could talk about a lot of stuff. So I wanted to find out about Nell's experience of Action Coach. She also does a lot of presenting, so I wanted to find out how she presents and if there's sort of parallels between presenting and doing videos. And she also tells a lot of her clients to make videos themselves as well. So this is a great conversation. I so much enjoyed this conversation. I usually do 20 minutes or so talking to people. I think we went on for 35 minutes, and then I had to call it because I had another meeting coming up. I could have spoken to Nell for longer. I said I would bring her on for a future episode as well, so keep an eye out for that. But here is that episode with Nell. I hope you enjoy. So first, just tell me a little bit about what you do to start off with. I know would you say you're an Action Coach franchisee, or is there like a different name for it?
Yeah, so technically, although that's one I don't often use. So I'm an Action Coach franchisee. I've been with Action Coach 12 odd years now, so since 2009, so quite a while. I normally would put myself as I'm a business coach, business growth expert, and a professional speaker.
Nice. And then you say you've been doing that for 9 years, you say. What were you doing before?
Oh, before this I was in HR outsourcing. So I worked for an organization that would buy up HR departments and then just run them more automated and process driven. And actually, I had never planned on being in an office environment or running my own business. I have a degree in drama and poetry. I wanted to be a radio and TV presenter. Tess Daly has my favorite job. I want to, if I could present strictly, then I've made it in life. So that's technically what I wanted to do. But yeah, when I moved to the UK and you live in Surrey, you kind of need 2 salaries to live off. So I kind of just fell into a lot of things.
And that Strictly job seems to be like they have it for life. Like Bruce had it for life, then he died.
I know.
So like
I have to wait.
It's not going to come up very often.
I don't want to say do something to Tess, but yeah, I have to wait. And also, I don't think I'm first on the shortlist.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, it's interesting. And then as an Action Coach, what is it you do like day to day? What kind of stuff do you get involved in?
Oh, the day-to-day is almost a little bit different because obviously I'm still growing my own business. So I do exactly what my clients would be doing, which is the marketing, the sales, all the admin and the processes that go around that. But as a coach, what I mainly do is a combination of accountability with clients. So it's weekly, monthly sessions. It could be check-in sessions to see how they're getting on with stuff. All of it is always focused around business growth. So I like to call myself a holistic generalist business coach. So if you think about it, if I help my clients to create loads of marketing, but we've not looked at how to deliver that and how they can deliver when that starts taking off, then that has impact everywhere else. But the ultimate aim is always to help them create a business that can run without them. So they could have a passive income, or they could go and live the life that they want, or they can sell it for a multiple more, but whatever it is that they want to do, really.
Yeah, nice. And then do they come into you? Like, do they come into your office there, or is that all sort of remotely done?
Both. So I have some clients that like to come into the office, and it gives them an opportunity to switch off the phone for an hour or however long they're here, to kind of go, I'm here, I can't be disturbed. They know that whatever they can say here, because there's no one behind me, so whatever is shared here is always really confidential anyway. But yeah, Zoom for those that are either a little bit further afield, or if time is a little bit stretchy, then yeah, either or. I'm flexible.
Yeah, I didn't catch, but whereabouts are you based as well?
Camberley.
So not far from me. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, cool. So you mentioned as well you are a public speaker. Is that something you sort of fell into, or I guess you've kind of got that presenting side, the drama and poetry side that you mentioned as well. Is it sort of feeds in well with that? It's an outlet.
It kind of comes in handy. So and to be fair, it's something that was on my dream chart for ages, and that I've talked about, but then somehow I never really got around to it. And only last year did I take the step. So I'm a member of the Professional Speakers Association, PSA for short. And I'm still building it out. Really, I've done a couple of gigs now, and I'm still sort of looking where my niche really sits with all of that. But yeah, I love being on a stage and taking an audience with me on a bit of a journey, passing a little bit of wisdom here and there where I can.
Yeah, nice. So was that always something you did growing up, like the performing side of things?
Yeah.
Nice. Was there any particular like moments or plays that you were in that were like stand out in your mind still?
I think the one that's the coolest is I did a radio ad for a bank when I still lived in Belgium, and I had to go into one of those sound booths and do the recording, and I got picked. So obviously you have to do auditions for that, and I got picked. And then when you hear your own voice on the radio in an ad, that I thought I'd made it. Then I was like, life can't get any better than this. That's it. That's done.
Yeah, there's little moments throughout your career, isn't it, where you're like, oh yeah, I did that, and then like it's just like it's something you sort of always go back on. Like people ask me, like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever filmed, and it's like always takes me back to like 2016, I think it was, and I was like in a barn next to a horse while someone was looking at the horse poo through a like field microscope. I'm just always like, yeah, that's the weirdest thing I've ever filmed.
That is pretty weird. Yeah.
So there's always like little moments throughout your life where you're just sort of, those kind of things crop up. So yeah, your voiceover for a Belgian bank is really cool, I think.
I found that pretty cool, and I saw it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. I think that whole thing of standing in one of those soundproof booths and having to do that, and there was about 3 or 4 different adverts that were recorded at that time, and then they all started coming out, and it's when you start getting messages of people that go, I've just heard you on the radio. That was pretty cool. I loved doing that, but just being on I like being on stage, a little bit of center of attention. It's all right.
Yeah, nice. Do you get to do much of that now? Like, do you do Amdram or anything like that?
Actually, no, I don't. It was really interesting. So when I often talked about it when I moved to the UK, and then it turned out it's not particularly easy to always get in, and they often look more for males than they do females because there's too many females already. And then I started the business, and then it kind of became one of those that took over. And now I kind of use that. If you ever get to see me presenting anywhere, I am quite a dramatic, theatrical, full-on, loud, very fast-paced, and then slow down. So I bring all of those skills in, and that makes me quite an engaging presenter, is what I'm often told. So I'm kind of using the skills now for what I do now. So yeah.
So in terms of those presenting tips, like those presenting skills, like do you have any particular tips you'd say to people that are just sort of maybe like starting out making videos, or even like stretching beyond video, like if they're going to be talking on stage, what kind of things can they do to improve themselves?
I would always say get started, because you will only get better by doing it. I look back, I love Facebook, because Facebook does the whole memories. This time in 2012, you were doing this. So I see some of my old Facebook lives pop up. And when I see them, I will always have a quick look. And it might just be a couple of minutes that I'm watching them. But then I see already how much even I've changed as someone that's a fairly confident in front of a camera, or fairly confident on a stage. Even I see the difference with what I'm doing now. So get started. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. As always, if you're really scared of speaking, there's some great organizations out there, or speaking coaches that can help you just get over that. But I think right now, not being on video as a business owner is a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree. Like I have to say that as well.
Well, obviously you're biased,
yeah. But it helps for other people to say that as well, because if I just say it all the time, then if someone else is saying it, it's like, oh yeah, maybe he is talking sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with you in terms of like just going and doing it, because every now and again I share the first video I ever made, and I was so scared to actually talk on camera that I just held up like signs with like what the messages were and like little bits.
Very Love Actually.
Yeah, like that, but less creepy, because I wasn't showing it to like my best mate's wife at her front door. I was just doing it to a camera, and it was about video rather than declaring my love for Keira Knightley. That's seasonal. This might not go out before Christmas, so that
that's right. Love Actually is not just for Christmas. Can I just point that out?
Yeah, you might be watching it. This might go out early in the new year, so hopefully you watch Love Actually over Christmas. But yeah, so that's the point. Like, I was so scared of talking in front of camera that I did that instead, and it really took a lot for me to actually talk in front of camera. I remember when I did drama at school. I did drama all the way up to A level, and I did it at uni as well for like a semester. But I hated it at uni. But like whenever I acted, I could not act in my own voice, and I had to act in like an accent or a different voice. And I remember I did English at school as well, and if I had to like read out for like, because you had to read out pages, and I was like, Miss, can I just do it in an accent? And I'd do it in like a stupid accent just so I could get through it, because I just found my own voice so like boring and dull that I had to put on an accent or like play a character. So it took a lot for me to actually be myself, or like be that sort of video version of myself in front of the camera. And one of the best bits of advice I got was just play yourself on camera. So it's like whenever I do this in front of the camera, I'm still me, but it's a character of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I often say to clients, and I don't know whether you're seeing the same, when in the last 2-ish years, because people have got used to Teams and Zoom a lot more, people that I know, business owners that I know pre-pandemic, when you were talking about video, they'd go, oh, no, video, no, not doing that. And now they've kind of got used to that. And they might not necessarily be doing full-blown videos like what you or I are kind of doing, but they're kind of getting used to seeing themselves on some form of screen. And I think that makes a little bit, that has definitely helped. But that hurdle is still huge. And I try to encourage my clients, if they're not comfortable, do things like this, because in an interview style, it's a little bit easier to be able to have a conversation and be yourself and then listen back to it. Where if you've got to do a full blown video, I kind of get not everyone's as enthusiastic about that as I am.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip actually, just to go on, like do a show like this, like have two people. Because then you can sort of bounce off each other and just have a conversation. Yeah. Like I say that when I go to like interview people at like events or conferences or anything like that, I try not to send them the questions beforehand, because like if I send them the questions, they will try and remember exactly what they need to say. Yeah. Whereas if I just say it's a conversation. Yeah. And then I just ask the questions I was going to ask anyway, but in the sort of process of like having a conversation, they talk to me. Rather than just trying to remember what they need to say. And a lot of it's just being truthful anyway. So it's just being honest.
But it's about being natural. And I think that's the hardest, because we put so much pressure on ourselves. And when you have a camera in front of your face, whether that's a laptop or a phone or whatever, people instantly do this whole thing of... And I've seen the same at networking events with presentations. People go, oh, I need to do a 10-minute presentation, and they put 7,000 slides together, and then they run out of time, and I kind of go, and then right at the end, when someone asks a question, they all of a sudden relax and become themselves, and I'm like, that's what you needed to be like for the previous 10 minutes.
Yeah. And like people think, like I've had a few people say, oh, you're really good at presenting, and that's because they didn't see me presenting 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like I stood up at networking and I thought I knew what I was going to say, and then like it just totally went out of my head. And I had one where I stood up, totally forgot, sat down, and then my friend next to me, she tapped my leg and was like, it's all right. And I was just nearly crying because I was so upset. But yeah, it was that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've not had that.
Yeah. But like with video, it's a bit easier because you're not in front of a room of people. Yeah. So like with video, you can just go back and record it. I remember the first video where I actually did talk in front of camera, it was like I said a few sentences, stopped, said a few more, went back, did that again. And I was doing that all day. Yeah. And I think I did 3 videos in the end. Whereas like now, if I did all day, I I would just back to back to back to back get it all done.
Yeah.
But that is just down to practice. Like when this goes out, this will be like episode 375 or 376. Because I've done that many videos before.
If it's 376, that'd be really interesting, because I started doing a daily Facebook Live when we went into lockdown in 2020.
Yeah.
By the time I finished that, and it was only Monday to Friday, I did 376.
Nice. What made you stop out of interest?
We were coming up to Christmas. It was not even last year, it was the year after, I think. And you know what? I just burned myself out. It was just...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was
daily
a lot
as well.
showing up every day.
Going. And live as well is hard work. Like I did a lot of live videos in lockdown as well. And like you have to be on for that. And like also you have to be mentally prepared for when things go wrong, because like the technology is not... like it's getting there, but like there will be stuff that goes wrong, and you have to accept that. So you have to be simultaneously presenting and also keeping an eye on everything to make sure it's working.
Correct. And then you have to, read the comments and be able to read people keep talking. That's a skill in itself. And it's really funny because I see other people do that. They do lives and then they stop and then they go and read the comments. I'm like, no, you need to keep talking. You need to learn to read and talk at the same time. I think my funniest one was flip chart gate, which is what my clients call it. One of them, I had a flip chart because I was trying to talk through something, and I'm talking to camera. Obviously, I'm seeing myself, and all of a sudden, I see the flip chart kind of starting to fall over. So I just grabbed it, kept talking, moved it back so it was steady. I just kept talking like nothing was going on. No one would have noticed.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. Like funny things like that happen when you're doing live videos that you can't prepare for. But yeah, like people remember it, so that's cool, isn't it?
I think that's the thing, isn't it, about video as well? It doesn't need to be perfect. Like. It's a little bit easy with lives because I think, and for me, that's where video comes in. You need to understand the different categories of videos and what you're trying to do with it. And too often when we talk about video and I say to my clients, you should have some video, they think of the really rehearsed auto cue, whatever kind of professionally shot videos. And that scares them, where I go, but there's different variations. And something like Facebook Lives or those kind of type of videos or reels on Instagram or whatever, they're so good they're good practice ground, and it doesn't matter that stuff goes wrong. You just keep going, just whatever.
Yeah, like I think if you do live videos, especially, it is just throwing yourself in the deep end. Yeah. Because like everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and if you can deal with that, then it's everything else makes it a lot easier because you can just be yourself on other forms of video as well. And even like I think where with lockdown and everything, we had like 2 years of not really seeing anyone. So I did like a presentation in November 2019, and my next one after that in front of people was July 2022. So nearly 3 years. And because I've been doing videos and live videos throughout that time, like I was a little bit nervous, but I just knew that I could do it. Whereas if I'd done nothing in that time, like it would have gone back to the start of like being, I'm terrified again. By having that, you're sort of keeping yourself match fit for talking in front of an audience. And I found like I was a little bit nervous in front of that audience, but then I find that as soon as I get a laugh, I'm absolutely fine. And I can just, like, I literally talked for like 4 or 5 hours in the end.
Wow.
It was like a half day, all day thing. But yeah, I'd like to do more of that. So to talk about how to do more of that, how do you get these presenting jobs? Like, how do you put yourself out there for that?
I guess in the last sort of 10 odd years I've been running the business, I've got a very good network of people around me that have seen me present at enough occasions, whether it's organized by myself or networking or whatever. So I often put a bit of a call out to say, if you know of anyone looking for a speaker, give me a shout. I have a few HR consultancies that I work with that are very good at for their clients when they're talking about we need a speaker for something. They will bring me in. Part of being part of the PSA is about
that's the key.
The networking side of stuff as well. So they will get asked, they can't do a date. They may go, I know someone else. So that's how that then flows out. I do a lot of my own stuff as well, though. I run a lot of workshops. I like doing workshops. wherever someone says, "Oh, do you want to be a speaker?" I'm like, "Yes, please, put me on the list."
Yeah, nice. Do you find that being like having Action Coach as like a brand behind you that helps you stand out?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess the answer to that really should be yes. I don't really know. I think it's like with everything. I think sometimes people will probably go, "I've never heard of Action Coach," so therefore the brand almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
For those that have, it probably does. But I don't think we're there yet in that whole brand recognition. We're working on it very hard.
Oh, yeah,
But
maybe
we're
because
not
I
there
know
yet.
a few action coaches. Yeah, I know a few action coaches. So I'm like, oh yeah, I know action coach, and like other people I know be like, yeah, I know action coach. Yeah, but I never thought that people wouldn't know. Like, because if you're like in that world all the time and you see it everywhere, you kind of assume everyone knows about it. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And I think I've learned that over the years, that there's a lot of people that go, "Oh, I've never heard of Action Coach." So, and that's why I said, "Oh, I don't really know," because I think people buy me. People get attracted to me first. You have some people that already know of Action Coach that might go, "Who's my Action Coach in the local area?" But yeah, and that's what I mean with brand recognition wise. We're not where we want to be yet. That's a work in progress.
Like, it's very interesting as well, because like, I hadn't really thought about it, but what you said was like, it kind of rang true, that when I worked with people before the pandemic, there was a lot of people that were very nervous about being on camera. Like, there was a guy back 2015 I worked with, and I tell this story a lot to people that know me, but like he was like big confident guy rolling up. Like, I literally rolled up in like a Rolls Royce or something, was paying for lunch with like £50 notes, like
Nice.
expensive suit. Turn the camera on, little red like tally light comes on, and he literally went grey. Because he was just so nervous and like could not get a word out of him. Even when we were just like asking him questions, it was just like couldn't get him to talk. But I think that, yeah, you're right. Now that people have been on Zoom all the time, even if it's just like, yeah, like they like calls with their team or calls with, like, that was the only way really to communicate with people. So even like down to like having Zoom quizzes or like talking to your mum on Zoom.
Yeah.
Even like now, like I won't ring my mum and dad on their house phone. I'll FaceTime them or like WhatsApp video call them. So I think that people have got used to it, and I hadn't really thought about it until now. Whereas like since the like lockdown restrictions were lifted, I haven't had many people that were nervous in front of camera. Like, they say they are, but I think that's just like to take the pressure off them a little bit.
Maybe.
And so I think it's sort of, I'm really nervous, and you just go, oh, you'll be fine, and then they are fine. Like, everyone's all right, because you just treat it like a conversation. You have a chat. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully I answer your question, but yeah, I think you're right in that people are more confident because they're used to the technology.
Yeah, I love that one.
Nice.
And then equally as maybe a follow-up question to that, like because this is your world more than like I use video as part of my world, but this is more your world. Where do you see this going? Like, what are some of the things, like if I said to my clients, right, video, this is what's going to happen in the next 5 years, what are your kind of top tips or things to think about?
Okay, good question as well, because I think that can change really quickly. Like, it changes very quickly. Like, if I looked at what I was doing 5 years ago to what I'm doing now, it would be pretty different. Like with the video show, if you watch back episode 1 and you watched every single episode, which I don't know if they're even available like on one platform, you'd have to like jump across different YouTube channels and onto my LinkedIn and onto my website. But like, there has been changes with that in terms of the format. So it started off me just sort of talking to camera on my sofa and just answering questions and like really struggling with it. And then it came out, like I was pulling questions out of a box and answering those questions. Then I was doing like daily vlogs, well, not daily vlogs, I was doing vlogs of like going around and like shooting that. Then I did a bit where I was like walking to work with my phone and just filming them on my phone. Then I did like live videos on my own. Then I brought guests in like it is now. So it's always evolving like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the future, I think I'd really want to see more of this kind of stuff where it's like longer form stuff that's then repurposed into little clips. Like, I'm doing a lot of that at the moment, and I think that will continue for a little bit.
Okay.
TikTok is doing extremely well in terms of grabbing people's attention. But I think there's always a space for like those longer videos as well, because TikTok is kind of like, you get different things every time you scroll through. And then there's this whole thing with like the metaverse and stuff like that. And I'm not sure like how that's going to work in terms of, I don't think it's going to be like this big, like all consuming thing where like you put on a headset and it's like you're in a different world. I think it'll be more sort of complementary to like there'll be like glasses or a contact lens where it's like complementing, like adding to your life, like augmented reality rather than virtual reality. But I think that's a little way off, like to perfecting that. It's also interesting, like I watched a video the other day in terms of like someone created it using AI technology where he got himself and they like made him into like a puppet of him. So it was still him. And then they added his voice into it. So it was like his voice and his face talking. And at this moment, you would totally be able to tell that it wasn't it wasn't a human being. It was like an AI. But I think that will develop, and that in a few years that will be like perfected. So I think in 5 years that will certainly be perfected. So like it could be that you come into the studio, we do like a number of different videos to like scan you into the AI platform, and then I just sort of produced 100 videos for you.
And I've not had to do anything else.
And I just have your like you, and I can like plug your voice in, like type in the voice, and then we'll just get you to say whatever I want. And I think that's exciting to see how that'll develop. So I think I will still be doing stuff within video. So I think it might be sort of more artificial intelligence based stuff in the future. So I'm not particularly scared about how that if I lose my job of doing that. I'm more excited about what opportunities that will bring. But I also think there's still. I'm really going into this. Like you asked me this question.
That's a good question, obviously.
I still think there'll be stuff to do.
Fine.
People still want like real people as well. So still I think people will still want real conversations like this because they still want that real connection with people, and they still want to listen to interesting conversations. Yeah. Like in my spare time, I listen to podcasts or I watch podcasts like on YouTube. Like when I'm washing up, I'll watch like long old YouTube videos about just two people chatting. Yeah. So I still think there's a place for that. So it's exciting about what the future is going to bring, and I think it will go sort of down that road. And there'll be other stuff that I haven't even considered that come along. But yeah, I always find this stuff exciting.
And actually, you're right, because that's what we've definitely seen that difference already. That's what I'm seeing. Like all my interviews that I've got on my YouTube channel with clients or people that I know that are running businesses are viewed more than any of the great content videos that I've out there. And the content videos are a lot smaller or shorter. Yeah. But the longer interview type videos, people just love watching and hearing what other people are going through and thinking, and it's really interesting that. Yeah,
like and going on to that as well, like I think people really like seeing behind the scenes stuff, like how things go, like how things are made and how things. So I'm doing a shoot tomorrow. It's at a conference, but somebody's shooting the conference. So I've sort of employed someone to come along and film me to show behind the scenes of that, because I want to use that to show people this is what I do when I turn up at a conference and film. And I think people will find that really interesting. I'd watch that. So,
but you're right though, and that's the point I was making earlier. I think as a business owner right now, if you're not using video already, you really need to start putting that into your plan for next year. It combines two of my favorite things: videos and plan. But it's so important, and it could be a combination of people. It's like know, like, and trust, isn't it? And it's so easy to create that through video. And it is what are you expecting to get? Even like from where you park the car to how you get into our office, just to take all of that away. People want to understand as much as possible. And I'm a big fan of Marcus Sheridan. If you've not read his book yet, definitely for anyone watching this, go and read it. They Ask You Answer. But he talks about this. Like 80% of people already have made their mind up that they're going to buy from you before they even reach out right now. So the more you can give them and the more you can show what you're about and how you work and what they can expect, the more they're going to go, yep, that's the person I want to work with. So video is huge in that, absolutely huge.
Yeah, like it really does help people's buying decisions. Like they feel like they know you. Yeah. And they feel like they have this relationship with you where it's like you're their friend almost, but you've not, it's kind of like, it's a weird one-way thing where you're putting all this content out and they may not be replying to it.
Correct.
But they feel like they know who you are.
Correct.
They know about you. And the more you do that,
yeah,
like the more like they're gonna,
yeah,
like, and the better you do it as well. Like if you're doing stuff that's really interesting and really like, just sort of something that they find, yeah.
That's always a dodgy one, not a dodgy one, but I always find that hard because I go, some people will love what you do, some people will hate it, and for me that's a good thing because I always think, you know, I know I'm a bit full on, so therefore not everyone's going to like my style, and that's okay. Video helps them make that decision that I'm the right person for them or not. But it's that, I think it's that thing about if you do that really well or better, then I kind of think, oh yeah, but what you're doing right now could work for a bunch of people. So how do we know that, and what do we base it on? Because something like YouTube is less engaging than any of the other platforms are. So I find that a bit of a hard one to quantify, actually.
I think there's ways of doing it. Like I try and repurpose this kind of stuff. Like there's loads of moments in this chat where I'm like, that's a clip, that's a clip, that's a clip. So like some people may only ever watch those clips and never watch the full thing. So people might never watch this bit, but they'll watch, like, they might watch one of that bit, or the bit where I was talking about that bit, or the bit where you were talking about that bit. I find that interesting, and just give it a like or give it a comment or just watch it. But they might never watch the rest of it. But yeah, that's fine. And I think that's why these kind of videos work so well, is that I put these out often, and then people can watch this in full if they want. And some people do, so it's nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
and yeah, that's an interesting one. Like, I don't know whether you've seen the same. I have a lot of clients that love audiobooks because they're easy. You can check them on in the car or walking the dog, or, you know, so audio has really become popular for my clients that don't like reading, audio. But now all of a sudden I have a lot of people that go, actually, I don't really do any of that, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm like,
yeah.
So it's definitely
a
little bit of everything for everyone there. It's cool. I love it.
Yeah, nice. Cool. I can just tell you now, this is now officially the longest episode of the video show ever.
All right.
Normally it's about 20, 25 minutes. So I don't want to eat into the rest of your day.
That's all right.
But how do people get in touch with you? What's like the best way for people to get in touch?
You can find me on all social medias. Although I shouldn't say that because that's not fully correct, because I'm not on TikTok yet. It's on the list for next year.
Yeah.
But you can find me on all social medias, Action Coach Nell. I've done that on purpose because no one can spell my surname, so that makes life a lot easier. So you can find me as Action Coach Nell, and I'm always available. I put loads of gifted coaching out there, so I always say to people, look, if you're not sure and you just want to come and experience what it's like, just book yourself in for a gifted coaching session and then just see where that takes us.
So that's it for episode 376 of Video Show. I really do hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've got any questions for me for future episodes, I'm going to be doing more questions where I'm answering people's questions as well in 2023, as well as the sort of guest interview videos as well. I want to make more and more content, and questions is a great way of doing that. So if you've got any questions, remember to comment on this wherever you're watching or listening to this video or listening to this podcast, and don't forget to share and subscribe wherever you are consuming this content. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great new year, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.